The moment I stepped into the room, I knew I'd made a mistake. The air was thick with tension, heavy with unspoken grudges. My sister Karen's voice cut through the silence before I could even close the door behind me. "She gets nothing." Dad hated her, she declared, her words sharp and deliberate, loud enough for everyone to hear. No greeting, no glance my way, just a verbal slap meant to sting. I felt it land, heavy in my chest, as my hand tightened around my son Eli's. His small fingers curled back, warm but trembling. I forced a thin smile for him, but it felt hollow. He knew. He always did. We hadn't even sat down, and already I was an outsider, a ghost in a room full of people who'd spent years sharpening their disdain for me. I wasn't here to grieve or reconnect. In their eyes, I was here to be dismissed one final time. Karen sat at the head of the mahogany table, poised like a queen in her crisp gray suit, her dark hair pulled into a tight bun, red lipstick painted into a smirk. Uncle Rick, my father's older brother, leaned back with his usual oily grin. "Even her kid knows she's worthless," he muttered, nodding at Eli as if he were a mistake I'd dragged along. Eli's eyes dropped to the floor, and I felt him shrink beside me. My heart cracked deeper. The room was a gallery of judgment, cousins chuckling under their breath, others silent but complicit. I led Eli to the farthest chair, its legs scraping the wood floor, echoing in the tense quiet. He climbed up, hands folded in his lap, trying to disappear. Karen's eyes met mine, her smile cold and pitying. "You know this is pointless, right?" she said, her voice a smooth blade. "Dad rewrote the will. You're cut out. Completely. He said you were dead to him." I nodded once, words failing me, as if agreeing could shield me from the ache. 8 years had passed since I'd last been in a room with these people, since I'd packed 2 suitcases and left with Eli, then just 2 years old. I hadn't left by choice. Staying would have meant losing myself entirely. My marriage had unraveled, not in loud fights or bruises, but in cold silence, in nights spent crying into my pillow while my husband pretended not to notice. I tried to stay for Eli, for my father, for the family that insisted I make it work. But one day, I stood on Dad's porch, Eli in my arms, tears staining my blouse, and told him I couldn't do it anymore. He looked at me, stepped back, and shut the door. No questions, no support. From that moment, I was cut off, not officially but emotionally. Calls stopped. Texts stopped. Holidays passed without me. Karen, the good daughter, stayed. She cared for Dad, delivered casseroles, drove him to appointments, signed checks for his medication. She told her story. So often it became gospel, and I was the villain who'd abandoned the family. Uncle Rick echoed her. "Family doesn't quit. Blood is loyalty. Don't come crying when you're left with nothing." The cousins, aunts, and family friends nodded along, never questioning her narrative. So I stopped explaining. I built a quiet life for Eli and me. 2 jobs, packed lunches, bedtime stories, bike rides in our apartment's parking lot. We had safety, laughter, and peace, even if it was small. A small part of me still hoped Dad might remember me. Not Karen's version, but the daughter who tried, the mother who survived. When the envelope arrived from Mr. Connor, Dad's lawyer, with just a time, date, and address, I thought it might be a mistake. But Eli, with his big, knowing eyes, said, "We should go, Mom. Maybe there's something you need to hear." He was right. The room smelled of leather, dust, and Karen's cloying perfume. Everyone sat in stiff silence as Mr. Connor began reading the will, his voice flat. The estate of Charles Morgan, being of sound mind. I barely heard him, my mind clouded with dread. I hoped for a single line, a note, something to acknowledge me. The distributions came. The house to Karen, the lake property and business shares to Rick, the vintage cars to my cousin Paul. Each pause made me hold my breath, waiting for my name. Then it came. As previously declared, my daughter Julia Morgan shall not receive any portion of this estate. Final. Brutal. Eli's hand found mine as my fists clenched in my lap. Karen scoffed, whispering, "Told you." Rick muttered, "Takes a certain kind of person to walk away from their own father." The silence from the others was heavy with judgment. I stared at the table's dark grain, wondering why I'd come, why I'd hoped. Then Eli spoke, his voice clear and calm. "You forgot the video he recorded." The room froze. Karen blinked. Rick frowned. Mr. Connor's pen hovered midair. "What video?" I whispered, confused. Eli reached into his backpack and pulled out a crumpled envelope, my name written across it in Dad's sharp, unmistakable handwriting. Below it, for the lawyer. Only if it gets ugly. The room tensed. Where did you get that? I asked. Eli's eyes were steady. Grandpa gave it to me. That day you were at work. He told me to keep it safe. Mr. Connor took the envelope, opened it, and found a USB drive and a note. His face softened as he read silently. There's a video from Charles Morgan, he said, to be played if things became contentious. He walked to a laptop, inserted the USB, and the screen flickered to life. My father appeared, older, thinner, in the navy sweater I'd given him. My heart stopped. He looked into the camera and said, Hi, Julia. My nails dug into the chair. If you're watching this, I'm gone, he said, his voice cracking. I didn't expect peace in that room. I know what they think of you. Hell, I know what I said about you. I was wrong. The words hit like a thunderclap. I believed Karen. Rick, the easiest story. You left and I never asked why. I told myself it was betrayal. But you tried. You came to me, crying, holding your son, and I shut the door. That was the moment I failed you. Tears stung my eyes. I met Eli once, he continued. He said, My mom is the safest place in the world. My hand flew to my mouth, tears spilling over. I lost you, Julia, because I was too proud, too stubborn. I won't let my final act be another mistake. I changed the will. Gasps filled the room. Karen's mouth fell open. Rick shifted, tense. I've left the house to you and Eli, the savings, the retirement account, a trust fund for Eli's college. It's all in your name. I know it doesn't fix what I broke, but I want you to have peace. He leaned forward. I'm proud of you, Julia. I love you. I always did. I just didn't know how to show it. The screen went black. The silence that followed was sacred, reverent. Karen stood abruptly, her chair screeching, and stormed out, her husband trailing behind. Rick sat frozen, then left without a word. One by one, the others followed, some avoiding my gaze, others nodding faintly. Mr. Connor closed the folder, his voice warm. There's paperwork, but it's all in order. Your father made sure. He left, and it was just Eli and me. The silence felt different now, like peace. Eli's eyes met mine, full of pride. He hadn't just saved me with that envelope. He'd carried my father's truth, believed in it when I couldn't.